30%. 60%. Should be live. I believe we are. We live? We good? Testing. Let's see. We are live. We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Wonder Bro here with Vacay Fear. Ooh, I forgot to let the Discord know that we were live. Let's do that now. At everyone, we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, there we go. Let's get it pulled up on my end. What's up, Julie? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Hello, everyone. Panda, hello. Pony, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. It is about 2 p.m. here. We've been streaming kind of early here recently, so a bit of a different time schedule today. Excalibur, how you doing? Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Come in, come in. Today we're going to be talking about taking advantage of feeling anxious. Now, that's one you don't really hear that often. That's something you don't really hear that often. If you're feeling anxious, people view that as a bad thing, right? People view that as a bad thing. Well, today we're going to be talking about how you can take advantage of feeling anxious and even become excited by feeling anxious. Good morning from California. Good morning, David. How are you doing? Come in. We're going to give it a few moments, as we always do, to let some people get in here that want to watch us live. Let's see. Okay. Come in, everybody. How is everybody doing today? I was just reading about that. Okay, awesome. You were ahead of the game today, Julie. All over the place here. Try to get situated. Take a nice big drink of water real quick. All right. Come one, come all. What are we about 3-4 minutes into this, so we'll get going in just a second. Hey, save your questions, guys, until after the point of the stream. Stick around until after the point of the stream, and I'll do my best to get to those. Am I getting a call? What? Yeah, try to save your questions till after the point of the stream so I don't get too sidetracked. We'll knock the point of the stream out, and then we'll do our best to get to questions. That's usually how we operate around here. So we're about 4 minutes into it, so we're going to go ahead and get the point of this stream started. Today we are talking about taking advantage of feeling anxious, which is something you don't hear that often. People associate the anxious state with something negative, something bad, right? Something you definitely don't want to feel. And this is the problem. Essentially, at the end of the day, this is the problem, right? I don't want to feel this way. I feel this way, but I don't want to feel this way. Second fear, as Dr. Claire Weeks calls it. So how can we really take advantage of feeling anxious rather than viewing it as something horrible? Like, oh, I've been feeling good here recently, and now I feel anxious today. This is just awful. And then, that train of thought leads to a spiral, and before you know it, you're down the rabbit hole, and you've completely beat yourself up and scared yourself to death because you were having good days and now you're anxious. So, as long as you're viewing anxiety symptoms and feeling anxious as something bad, something negative, we call this second fear, and that is the main problem, right? As long as you're viewing anxiety as something you don't want to feel or try to avoid, or as long as you're labeling your symptoms as something you don't want to experience for one reason or another, you are adding second fear. So if you're still in the habit of doing that, or if you view anxiety as something you don't want to feel, or as something awful, or as something negative, something bad, right? Then you are still adding what we call second fear, what Dr. Claire Weeks called second fear. And this is the very reason you are continuing to not to heal. So how can we go from a state of mind of, I don't want to feel this way, to a state of mind of, I'm going to take advantage of this? Really, it comes down to a shift in mindset, a shift in perspective. So instead of saying, oh, I feel anxious today, maybe I'm going backwards, or, oh, I feel anxious today, I definitely don't want to feel this way, or what can I do to make it go away? Instead of coming at it from that second fear mindset, you have to come at it from a point of view of, oh, I feel anxious today, I'm going to take this time to really study and learn about my anxiety from a true point of observing instead of from a point of fear, second fear, right? For so long, you have chalked your symptoms up as something horrible or negative or something you definitely don't want to feel. And again, we call that second fear. So you have to take advantage of feeling anxious and use it to your advantage. How do you do that? By coming at it with the mindset of, you know what, I feel anxious, but I'm going to practice. I feel anxious, but I'm going to view these symptoms for what they are. I'm going to use this opportunity to start working on changing my perspectives, right? Because it all comes down to perspective. We talked about this the other day in several streams about how anxiety symptoms and the symptoms of excitement are the exact same thing. They're the exact same thing, and the only thing that makes a true difference here is your perspective. We've talked about that a lot here recently. So in order to take advantage of feeling anxious, you have to drop the mindset of this is horrible, and you have to come into it instead with a mindset of, you know what, I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to work on changing my perspectives. I'm going to take advantage on feeling anxious right now to actually try my best to start viewing my symptoms in a different way. I'm going to take advantage of feeling anxious so that I can start working on changing the way that I see my symptoms. Because at the end of the day, that's the main point here, right? I mean, you can call it the two main keys, you can call it acceptance, you can call it floating, you can put whatever label you want to on it. At the end of the day, what we're really trying to accomplish here with acceptance and healing is changing the way we view our symptoms. Changing the way we view our symptoms. That's what we're really, really trying to accomplish at the end of the day. And a lot of people think that's impossible. A lot of people think it can't be done. Again, these are just more self-defeating, self-sabotaging thoughts that you're entertaining, right? It absolutely can be done, and it needs to be done in order to reach a point of healing. So instead of seeing your anxious days or your anxious moments as something horrible, as something that you wish never happened, you have to come into it with a mindset instead of, I'm going to take advantage of this to really practice changing my perspectives, to really practice changing the way I view my anxiety. Because we can't practice changing the way we view our anxiety if we're not anxious, right? So be thankful for being anxious. Be thankful for being anxious, because now you've got the opportunity right in front of you to really start to change those perspectives. And at the end of the day, that's going to make all the difference in the world. So you can either get resentful, frustrated, or angry when you have those anxious moments, or you can view them as something that you're going to take advantage of, right? I'm going to take advantage of this because now I'm anxious, and this is a perfect opportunity for me to practice everything that I know. This is a perfect opportunity for me to start changing my perspectives. This is a perfect opportunity for me to get out of this cycle of second fear, right? And I can start working on it right now because I am anxious, and I need to be anxious in order to practice these things. So you go from a victim mindset, really, a victim mentality, which, by the way, hurts you. It doesn't serve you at all. You go from a victim mentality to one of, you know what, I'm feeling these bodily feelings, but it's going to come down to what I make of them. And I'm going to start working on that right now because I've kept myself in the second fear cycle, in the second fear hamster wheel for so long. And I'm sick of it, right? I'm going to break out of it, and I'm going to take advantage of feeling anxious, and I'm going to use this opportunity, because that's really what it is, an opportunity to work on those perspectives that are keeping me in that hamster wheel, right? I'm going to take advantage of this, and I'm going to use this opportunity to work on those perspectives that are keeping me in that hamster wheel. And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. So the main point of today's stream, you guys, is to, instead of being bitter, frustrated, and resentful by the fact that you're feeling anxiety, you need to come into it with a mindset instead of, I'm going to take advantage of this, right? And that'll make all the difference in the world. That'll make all the difference in the world if you shift from the victim mentality to, I'm going to take advantage of this, right? And you guys have it in you. And I know you may feel like that's impossible right now, but just keep working towards it. Just keep working towards it, and you will see the power that your perspectives holds, right? All right, you guys, so that was the point of today's stream. Feel free to ask your questions. We're going to read some comments, get caught up with chat for a bit, and just hang out for a little while. So if you have questions, now is the time to answer them. If you enjoyed the point of today's stream, please feel free to hit that like button. It really does help the channel grow. We are right around the corner, guys. We are right around the corner. Let's see. Right around the corner from 9K. Yeah, we're about 100 off, just 100 people off from 9K. So if you enjoyed the point of today's stream, hit that like button, and let's get caught up with chat. Let's hang out for a bit. How are you guys doing? How was chat doing today? You're definitely not crazy. I can tell you that. One of my biggest fears was going quote-unquote crazy. Never happens. Never happens. So you're definitely not crazy. If you view it that way, anxiety can make you feel that way. But you're definitely not crazy. I can tell you that. Just from personal experience on that one. Considering that was one of my biggest fears. Bitterness, yes, something I'm having to work on now. That's okay. It's okay to be a work in progress, guys. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that at all. It really helps, though, if we can go from that mindset of victim mentality to, I'm going to take advantage of this, right? And that's why that's the point of today's stream today, because that is so important. So important. If you come at it from a place of being a victim of something, you're just already adding more second fear. A victim mentality is already a second fear mentality. What is true acceptance? See, a lot of people are stuck in that mindset of, I'm going to hear a magical phrase and then it's all going to make sense and it's going to be easy. I never said it was easy. Changing your perspective from telling yourself horror stories about your symptoms to being more rational and realistic takes time. I never said it was easy, but I said it was possible, because it's possible for everybody. So there's not a magical phrase that you need to hear in order to understand true acceptance. There's not a magical set of words that you're missing. You know what needs to be done. It's just a matter of actually doing it. Are you willing to change your perspectives of your symptoms to ones more rational and realistic? Are you willing to stop telling yourself horror stories? That's what it comes down to. You're not actually missing anything. I want everyone to be very aware of that. You're not actually missing everything. You're just still in a bad habit of adding second fear. So understand that. Understand that, because I once believed that myself, that I was missing something. No, you're not missing anything. If you've been here on the channel for a little bit, you're not missing anything. It's just a matter of doing it now. I haven't done very many in a while, Jesse. Not easy, just simple. Yeah, right. Not easy, it's simple. What you need to do is simple to understand, right? Stop telling yourself horror stories. Change your perspective. Simple enough to understand, not easy enough to actually practice and get perfect the first time around. Simple to understand, but you have to practice it. You can have crazy negative thoughts. Yeah, that's just a weird thought, but it is a result of a tired mind and body. So, yes to both questions there. Yes, yes to both questions there. Hey, I used to be completely convinced that I was missing something, right? Like there's some sort of magical phrase I'm waiting to hear in order to truly understand acceptance. But it turns out I wasn't actually missing anything, and that's just something that your mind has convinced you of. You're not actually missing anything. You know what needs to be done. You know what second fear is. It's easy enough to understand, right? You're telling yourself horror stories about your symptoms, therefore you get more symptoms. The body doesn't know any better. So that's easy enough to understand. You're not actually missing anything. Your mind has just kind of convinced you of that. The only thing you're missing is the action. It's time to start practicing what you know, right? So don't convince yourself that you're missing something, because that's just a lie. You're not missing anything. Second fear is very easy to understand. So don't let your mind convince you that there's something that you just don't get yet, because you get it. You get it. It's just a matter of actually starting to apply it. A matter of actually starting to change your perspectives, right? Finally caught a live stream. What's up, Holds? Holds puts in work as an admin, dude. I really appreciate what you've been doing recently with the timestamps. I really appreciate that. Yeah, see, that's the thing, David. A lot of people convince themselves also that unless they take action and do something against the negative intrusive thoughts, that something bad will happen. That's just not true. Let the negative intrusive thoughts be there. Don't fuel the fire, and just change your perspectives about the symptoms that these thoughts bring, right? It's all about stopping that second fear. So it's all about getting out of that habit of second fear, which comes down to your perspectives of your symptoms. So instead of wasting your time doing something about those negative intrusive thoughts and fueling that fire, just leave those alone. Show your brain that those are not important, and just work on one thing, which is changing your perspectives towards your symptoms. And that's going to result in dropping second fear, right? So the two main keys, don't even waste your time with those negative intrusive thoughts. Leave those alone and work on acceptance. What is acceptance? Getting to the point where you stop adding second fear. What does it mean to stop adding second fear? It means to change your perspective of your symptoms and stop telling yourself horror stories about them, right? Hey, well, you're in the right place, Starbeam. Hold's been doing work, he has, and I'm very appreciative of it. Very appreciative of it. It really helps everyone who views the stream after the fact figure out what's going on. Had a stressful situation that popped up with a friend. Going through depression. I'm scared that I'm going to feel the way he does. So again, you're just giving in to horror stories, right? You're just fueling the fire of negative horror stories in the mind instead of looking at reality for what reality really is, right? You're just still a bit in the habit of entertaining horror stories, of telling yourself horror stories, and that's leading to the way that you feel. You're lost because you're still doing too much mind stuff. You're lost because you're still entertaining too many questions. You're lost because you're still living life through the mind instead of just leaving those thoughts alone, right? That's why you're lost. The mind will get you lost every single time. Oh yeah, anybody in the sensitized boat has crazy, just ridiculous thoughts. That's a part of it. That's a part of being in the sensitized boat. That's a very, very common symptom. It's a normal part of being sensitized, right? What's up, Olivia? How you doing? Okay, Robert. I'll do my best to check that. Yeah, so you're spending too much time lost in your head. There's really only one thing you need to remember about anxiety recovery, and that's you need to stop adding second fear. And we do that by changing our perspective of our symptoms, by viewing them in a more rational way, right? As far as the thoughts go, just leave all that alone. Leave all that nonsense alone. That's why you're confused. That's why you're lost. That's why you're feeling lost. You're doing too much mind stuff. Just leave all those thoughts alone. Sorry, I'm burpy. Leave all those thoughts alone and work on one thing, and that's second fear. Julie, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Julie, for the $20 donation. Thanks for all your help. I feel blessed to have found your channel. Thank you so much, Julie. Welcome to Stream MVPs. Your name will be re-entered into the tip ticker. Thank you so much for the $20 donation, $20 tip, Julie. If we could show her some love in the chat, please, it would mean a lot to me. We should always be grateful for our supporters. Thank you so much for that, Julie. That one's for you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Bro, I finally caught a live. Thank you for what you do. Hey, man, welcome. Do you listen to Sad H Guru or Emoji? I'm a fan of both. Hi, everyone. Love you all. What's up, Joseph? Much love coming right back at you. How do you deal with feeling trapped? Because you can't leave, because you'll embarrass yourself. All of this planning that you're doing around anxiety, you're only doing it because you've told yourself so many horror stories about your symptoms. Your symptoms actually aren't as bad as your mind is making them out to be. We cause 99% of our own suffering, right? So the only reason that you feel the urge to escape to begin with is because you fear the symptoms so much. Why do you fear the symptoms so much? Because of what you've told yourself about them so many times in the past. And that's what we need to start working on. Because if you didn't fear the symptoms, you wouldn't feel the urge to leave to begin with, right? You do more for me. I wish I could do more for you. Hey, Julie, you do plenty. I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you. You do plenty. It's all about that perspective, guys. You wouldn't feel the urge to escape to begin with, and you wouldn't feel the urge to plan around your anxiety if you didn't fear it to begin with. And the only reason you fear it is because the things that you have told yourself about it that have slowly became beliefs that are very negative and scary, right? And that's what we got to work on. Dr. Claire Weeks calls it the correct inner voice. I like to call it changing your perspective. You can call it acceptance. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But our main goal will always be to stop adding second fear, right? Because if you didn't add second fear, if you didn't fear your symptoms, and you viewed them, more rationally, more logically, you wouldn't even feel the need or urge to escape to begin with, right? You wouldn't even feel the urge to escape to begin with. So life is a perspective. It's the symptom and feelings I fear. It's the embarrassment my ego will take. I can deal with intense anxiety when there's not embarrassment at stake. So, again, even with embarrassment, you have told yourself something very negative that's become a belief about feeling embarrassed. You have adopted a perspective or belief that makes you uncomfortable. See how it all comes back down to this at the end of the day, regardless of what we're talking about? Right? We can be looking at the exact same thing. We can be experiencing the exact same thing, but it will come down to perspective. Joseph, thank you so much. The creepy Halloweeny organ. Joseph, thank you so much for the $10 donation. I truly appreciate you, dude. Wow, we're not even 20 minutes into this stream, and we've almost hit tip goal. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I put the word optional up there so people wouldn't feel obligated, right? But thank you guys so much. Not even 20 minutes into the stream, and we've pretty much already hit tip goal. I truly appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support and the love. I don't know what I would do without you guys. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Can we have a round of applause in the chat for our donators? Spam those emojis. Let's show them that we are grateful for what they do. Thank you guys so much. Hi, Chris. I'm a little behind on comments. I'm trying. Hi, Chris. How long did your sensitivity last after your light bulb moment finding Dr. Claire Weeks? So after learning about acceptance, I didn't apply it for a very long time. But when I started to actually apply it and change my perspective of my symptoms, I stopped adding second fear, you experience relief sooner rather than later. It's really hard and basically impossible to give a time frame, and I wouldn't recommend trying to do that. But just know that the sooner you stop adding second fear, the sooner you will start to experience relief. Am I the inner voice telling the inner voice to shut up? You are the awareness. If you want to break it down and boil it down to what you truly are, okay, at the end of the day, you are aware. You are aware of the thoughts in your head. You are aware of the feelings in your body. And all that you will ever truly be at your core is the awareness. What you choose to do with that awareness is up to you. It's not really a 10-step. There's not really a 10-step program here. There's not really steps that you need to take. You just need to tell yourself and understand whether or not you're adding second fear. What is second fear? Negative, horrible, scary perspectives about your symptoms. Are you actively working on your perspectives? If so, that's great. Keep it up. But if you're continuing to scare yourself by telling yourself horror stories about your symptoms, you are adding what we call second fear. Are you saving this stream? Yeah, we'll save this stream. How long have I known about acceptance? About 3 years ago is when I uploaded my first video here on the channel. I knew about it years before I recovered. I just really wasn't applying it. So that's the thing. You can have all the knowledge and advice in the world, but you got to apply it, guys. You got to apply it. When you try to change your perspective, does your brain fight to keep the old perspective? Old perspectives become second nature. They become habit. Second fear becomes habit. So you might notice that when those symptoms kick in, that you automatically start to add second fear almost out of habit, because that's basically what it is at this point. So you might notice that. And it's good if you notice it, because then you can work on it, right? Yeah, likes always help the stream. If you guys enjoy the stream, feel free to hit the like button. It really does help our channel grow, and I truly appreciate it. We are right around the corner from 9K, so pretty exciting stuff. And I have you guys to thank for that, so thank you so much. But really, guys, drop the mental stuff. Drop the mind game. Drop trying to figure out this and figure out that. Just leave the negative, intrusive thoughts alone. That's one of the two main keys, right? Because playing the mind game's not going to get you anywhere, so just leave those negative, intrusive thoughts alone. The only thing you really need to focus on is whether or not you are consciously telling yourself horror stories, and I mean by your own will, not negative, intrusive thoughts. That's not what we're talking about. Leave those alone. Stop playing the mind game. But as far as how you choose to view your symptoms, is concerned, that's what we need to work on, whether or not you're adding second fear there. Johnny, hello. I'll be right back, you guys. 2 seconds. Hello, beautiful people. Let's see. Yeah, I'm very behind on comments. Been here since you were excited about 3K coming up. That's awesome. So you've been here for a while, David. That's cool. Hey, I love my OGs. Let's see. Subconscious, that's the fear of embarrassment. Fear of embarrassment, fear of anything comes from ego. Really. Allow the feelings and thoughts to be there, exactly, while changing your perspectives of the feelings. If you're telling yourself horror stories about the feelings, you're adding what we call second fear. Let the thoughts be there. Stop playing the mental game so much. You're just getting lost, and allow the feelings to be there too, while you're actively changing your perspective of them. So when we say actively changing your perspective of them, we simply mean, are you adding second fear with what you're telling yourself about your symptoms, right? Adrenaline rushing through your body 24/7, yes, and you keep that adrenaline pumping by what you're telling yourself. If you're adding second fear, you are keeping that adrenaline pumping, you are keeping the symptoms coming back, because when you entertain negative horror stories about your symptoms, and when you don't work on your perspectives, and it's just constantly negative perspective, negative perspective, negative perspective, what you are doing is you are basically holding up a sign asking for your body for more protection. Therefore, you just get more. You just get more, and that's the thing, really. Is anyone going to get the PlayStation 5? I'm a PC guy through and through, but the new consoles do look pretty good. What's up, Wonder Bro, my brother, and hello, everybody. What's up, Elliot? It's good to see you, dude. Glad you could catch it live. Yeah, so, I mean, if you have adrenaline pumping through your body 24/7, and that's not to say that if you're in a sensitized state you won't be more easily triggered. You will, because your nervous system is fragile. But that is to say that if you have adrenaline pumping through your body 24/7, which, believe me, I know that feeling very well, it's because you continue to ask for it with your perspectives, with the horror stories that you tell yourself. Your body doesn't know the difference between a horror story that you're telling yourself about your symptoms and a real threat. So if you don't work on changing your perspectives and you keep telling yourself horror stories, you're basically holding up a sign that says, please give me more adrenaline. Please continue to protect me. Please continue to help me and protect me with anxiety because I am in danger. That is basically the direct message that you're sending to your body when you add second fear. And second fear is your perspectives. So that's how that all ties in. Hi, Wonder Bro. Hello, Mia. How you doing? Alan Watts talk. Yeah, that was very interesting. That was a good choice of marketing. Always a pleasure. Hope all is well. Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate you, man. Ever get into a depression state? It is possible to get into a depression state, right? It doesn't happen to everybody, so if it's not happening to you, don't worry about it. But if it is happening to you and you are feeling a bit depressed, we need to treat this the same way, in my opinion. Of course, everything I say here is in my opinion, but we need to treat this the same way we do, we treat the anxiety. We need to accept the way we feel, because resistance will never be beneficial. Resistance just causes frustration, right? And we need to change the way we look at things. Hey, nobody here is obligated to accept what I have to say. Nobody here is obligated to use my advice and to take my opinion. That is up to you. But, resistance will always be futile. In my opinion, resistance gets you nowhere. It frustrates you. What good does it do? It puts you into a more stressed out state, right? So drop resistance and actively work on your perspective of your life and your feelings. Because if your perspective is one of second fear, then that's why you continue to keep the feelings around. Body doesn't know the difference. Hey, Wonder Bro, hello, Danny. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Wow, we are packed today. We are packed today. I'm seeing a lot of new and old faces. That's awesome. Ever played Perfect World? I don't think so. I don't even think I've heard of that, to be honest. What's up, Andy? Welcome to the stream. How you doing, man? Whew. Leanne, I hope I said your name right. No, I still haven't played Wasteland, Jesse. Still haven't played it. What's for lunch? Haven't decided. I'm alright, dude. Very tired and had a bit of a health scare with chest pains, but I'm alright. Just spotted you online, so I thought I would come by and see how everyone is doing. Well, hey, we appreciate your presence, Andy. Hope you're having a good one, man. It's good to see you here. It's been a minute. My puppy loves hitting and chewing. Any tips, Wonder Bro? Or biting and chewing. Any tips? Nova had the same problem when she was a pup. Like, she would chew everything, right? And she kind of just grew out of it. I mean, I always try to keep, like, bones around and stuff for her to chew on, but she got out of the chewing thing on her own, really. Since I started the channel, Robert, about 3 years ago, I haven't had to deal with sensitization again. Left it behind. Yeah, so when I uploaded my first video was when I was like, I feel pretty good. I'm back to my old self. Haven't dealt with that shit in a while, so let's start a channel. Let's see if it, you know, if anyone listens. You just have to practice being the awareness, Nisha. You just have to be aware that there's obsessive train of thought there and that you're not going to partake, right? Practice being that awareness. So trains of thought come all the time, and it's up to us whether we want to just be aware of them and just let them be, or if we want to board those trains, right? So that's one of the two main keys, is to let those thoughts be there, not board that train. The other one of our two main keys, acceptance. Work on not adding second fear. How do you not add second fear? With your perspectives. For so long, you've been telling yourself very negative, horrible things about your symptoms that simply just are not true. They are just false beliefs. They are just the way that you choose to look at them, but we can actively work on that. Yeah, raw meat diet, I've heard of that. For dogs, by the way, chat, we're not talking about for humans. Hey, you're aware of it, Nisha. So know yourself as the awareness. Know yourself as the awareness. That's the thing. There's two things going on here. There's the thoughts and the feelings, and then there's the person who's aware of them, which is who you are. So practice being just the awareness instead of getting involved with those thoughts, right? Practice, practice, practice. And while you're at it, you might as well practice our other two main keys, right? Which is to change your perspective of those feelings. I'm going to rewind. Okay, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good one. We are packed today. Jeez. Jesse. Yeah, I know. I wish I could give you better dog advice, but... I do remember that, Elliot. I do remember that, Elliot. Again, it comes back to which train of thoughts do you want to board? Which train of thoughts do you want to board? A lot of people are convinced that unless they board the train of thought, then it'll never leave them alone. But actually, the opposite is true. If you practice not boarding the thought and just letting those feelings be there, right, the thought will eventually leave you alone. What an example of changing your perspective. So, we've talked about this a lot the last few days. That's really personal. It's really you changing your perspective of your symptoms as a personal endeavor, because what works for other people may not work for you. You really have to dig deep and view your symptoms in a new way, in a new light that's more realistic, logical, and rational, so you can stop adding second fear, right? And that's really a very personal endeavor. I could say that, oh, my heart beating, the heart is the strongest muscle in the body. People feel this way all the time after a good exercise, right? I could say that, and that could be my new perspective, and it would work very well for me, right? And I might really like that new perspective, and it might speak to me. But you could hear that and think, oh, well, that just doesn't really sit well with me. So it's really a personal endeavor when it comes to changing your perspective of your symptoms. You just need to dig deep. You need to find what brings you the most comfort. You need to find what new, rational, logical way of viewing your symptoms is going to keep you from adding second fear. And that is very much so a personal endeavor, just because what works for me or what works for others may not work for you. So you really need to dig deep on your own and figure out what new perspectives you can adopt and then keep, right? Adopting them is one thing, but you got to keep them. You got to keep them up. You got to keep them up. Hey, that's a mindset, Elliot. I mean, you can live with the mindset of no girl wants a dude with all these problems. You have every right as a human being to live by that mindset if that's what you choose to do. However, you can notice those negative perspectives and work on them. You can notice those negative perspectives and work on them. Or, like I said, no one can force you to live another way. So it's really up to you. It's really up to you. And I highly recommend, because obviously that's not a very good perspective, I highly recommend that you work on that. You are the captain of this ship. You are the captain of this ship, and if you've adopted a perspective that is adding second fear, if you've adopted a perspective that is making you more miserable with your life, if you've adopted a way to view things, okay, that's just making you miserable and stressed, then you have everything in you to be the captain of your own ship and change that and work on that. But it's got to be something that you choose to do, right? You can't just listen to me say, hey, you guys need to drop second fear, you need to work on your perspectives, and then not do it, right? So if you're here, if you're learning the advice, that's an awesome, great first step, but now it's time to put it into action, right? It's time to put it into action. I'm doing cardio while listening. That's awesome, dude. Welcome to the stream. Keep it up. Thanks, brother. Yeah, I mean, don't let your mindset ruin you, dude. Your mindset is just a collection of beliefs and perspectives that you have adopted after all these years. That is all your mindset is, chat. Is a collection of beliefs and perspectives, which are pretty much more or less the same, that you have adopted and convinced yourself of and lived by for all these years. That's all it is. Nothing is set in stone, chat. Nothing is set in stone. If you have a very negative outlook, if you have a lot of second fear that you're adding, none of that is set in stone. It's just the perspectives that you've chosen to adopt after all these years and that you continue to nurture, right? But we can start to adopt new perspectives and nurture new perspectives and reap the benefits of that if we want to. If we want to. No one can make you do it. No one can force you to do it. But just know that that option is there. If you're not happy with the way that you're living, if you're not happy with the way your perspectives are making you feel, you absolutely have every bit of power in you to make changes to that. And I recommend that you start today to find new perspectives in your life, to find a new way to view your feelings that doesn't add so much second fear, to dig deep and really make these changes and reap the benefits of that. You have that power in you. You have that choice in you, chap. You do. Nobody can do it for you. And I can preach and give you tools for that all day long, but nobody can do it for you at the end of the day. You have to do it. So if you don't like the way your perspectives of life and your feelings are making you feel, then let's get going. Let's get going. I mean, regardless of whether you're healed or not healed or whatever, don't give too much credit to the mind. The mind is 9 times out of 10 very negative. So if you're healed, that's great. If you're not healed, okay. But regardless of which state you're in, I wouldn't give too much credit to the mind. The mind is an awesome tool. It serves us very well when it's logical and when it's needed to problem solve with real things, right? But I would never, healed or not healed, give too much credit to your mind. Practice just living, chat. You can put your mind away for a little bit, and you should practice doing that. You can live life without the filter of the mind. You can be in the moment. You can live and use life as just a tool, or your mind as just a tool. You don't have to constantly be attached to your mind. And that's just really something you should practice, healed or not. You should practice realizing that you can live life without the filter of the mind. Believe it or not, there is a whole life waiting to be truly experienced that doesn't need to be filtered through the mind. You can use the mind as a tool, and that's it. And then you can just appreciate living life without the mind. That is a possible state, and that is something you should practice, because the mind is predominantly negative, because it really cares about one thing, and that's our survival. Which gets us into trouble because most of us don't need that. We're not fighting saber-tooths. We're not back in the caveman days anymore. So the mind is very survival-oriented, and therefore it's very negative, right? 2 seconds, chat. Alright, chat. I'm back. Jesse, I need you to be my new best friend. Just walk around and give me your advice and encouragement. I'm on day 4 of a setback. See, here's a problem. Here's the problem with that perspective. You say I'm on day 4 of a setback, which means that you've convinced yourself that there is something after you. You have convinced yourself that you are in a setback. You've convinced yourself of all these things instead of just taking a step back and saying, here's this symptom, and I'm going to view it in a new way. There's that symptom, and I'm going to view that in a new way that doesn't add second fear, right? You're playing this thing up too much. You're playing this thing up too much. You have convinced yourself that this is something that you need to battle against, fight against, quote-unquote setbacks. This is some sort of illness. Don't play it up too much. I understand where you're coming from, but don't play it up too much. You need to just find a new way to view your symptoms, right? Thank you so much for the $5 donation. I don't want to butcher your name. I don't want to butcher your name, but thank you so much for the $5 donation. Wow, you guys are awesome. We haven't even broken an hour, and we basically hit tip goal. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, you guys are amazing. I don't know what I would do without all of your love and support. Thank you so much. Round of applause for chat today. Thank you, guys. There's a new iPhone announcement today. I was not aware of that. I truly believe that we go through these things so we can teach others and be an inspiration to them as well. Just look at Wonder Bro. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. But, that is a problem. A lot of people play this thing up to be way more than it actually is. You're experiencing a symptom in the moment, right? And these symptoms we know are harmless. But you're experiencing a symptom in the moment. Don't automatically go to, oh, well, I'm in a setback, or don't automatically go to your so well-worn negative perspectives, right? Don't automatically jump into the mind and overthink this thing. I know it's easy to do. Believe me, I know that. I get that. I know it's very easy to do. But that's why we try to keep it as simple as possible. Don't even try to do anything with those negative intrusive thoughts. They don't serve you. And actively just work on changing your perspective towards your symptoms. That's it. Keep it that simple. Keep it that simple. Don't automatically jump in your mind and say, oh, I've been at it for this long, and I have this long to go, and I need to do this. You're overcomplicating this thing and stressing your body out more. You're overcomplicating this thing and stressing your body out more. And believe me, been there, done that. I know how that feels. Really, keeping it as simple as possible is the absolute best route to go. It's the only logical route to go, because if you're in a body that its main problem is it's too stressed due to the negative horror stories you've been telling yourself, what do you think overcomplication is going to continue to do to that body? Right? So if the whole thing about sensitized nerves is that you're living in a body that's tired, what do you think you're going to do to your body when you continue to overthink it and put way too many complications in there? What do you think that's going to do to the body that's already tired, right? And that's why we try to keep things as simple as possible. Your symptoms are perfectly normal. They're perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling the way that you feel unless you have a negative or some sort of horror story attached to it. There is nothing wrong with feeling the way that you feel. There's nothing wrong with being in a body that feels and experiences different feelings unless you have a negative horror story attached to it. That's when it starts to become a problem. That's when people become sensitized. That's when sensitized people continue to stay sensitized. There is absolutely nothing wrong with feeling the way that you feel unless you have a negative perspective of it, right? Believe me, guys, I know how strong these feelings can be. I know that it's very easy to attach a negative story or negative horror story to it. Second fears, Dr. Claire Weeks calls it. I know it's very easy to fall into that habit. I know it's very easy to continue to entertain these negative horror stories about your symptoms. But that is the reason you continue to stay where you are. Second fear, the body doesn't know the difference. We love this fact. The body doesn't know the difference between a negative horror story and the mind and a real threat. It does not know the difference. So when you get into a habit of second fear and you continue to entertain these negative perspectives instead of working on new perspectives, a new way to view your symptoms through acceptance, right? When you continue to entertain these negative perspectives to a body that doesn't know the difference, what do you think happens? Right? You can be aware while you look for a new perspective. You can be aware that your old perspectives are alive and active. You can be aware that thoughts are saying this and thoughts are saying that. You can be aware that there is a current symptom present. You can be aware while you actively change on looking at your life and your symptoms in a different way. So you become aware that old perspectives are at play and that second fear is at play. And then comes the introduction of new perspectives, right? And then comes the introduction of a new way to look at things, right? The dropping of second fear. I know it doesn't seem easy, guys. I know some days it's just a fucking drag. Pardon my French, but I get it. I get it. But here's the tools to make changes, right? You can take it or leave it. But I believe in each and every one of you, and I believe in your ability to do that, but you got to get started. You got to get started. Be aware if you're entertaining old perspectives that no longer serve you, right? Second fear perspectives, be aware of that. And then let's make a change. And let's work on it. You got to work on it. Beliefs don't come beliefs overnight. Beliefs don't become beliefs overnight. You might notice when you start this journey, you still tense up. You might notice when you start this journey, you still give into old perspectives, and that's okay. Hey, you know, Cade at the end of the day, he's got to be willing to help himself. Nobody likes to hear that answer. Everybody wants to be able to do everything that they can, right, for everybody else. But they got to want to help themselves. They got to want to help themselves. It's just like here on the channel, you know, I can speak all these words time and time again, but if, you know, the make or break difference is whether or not they're willing to help themselves. So you can give somebody all the advice in the world, but that's all you can do. And stressing about it and worrying about it outside of that doesn't do anything but hurt you. You can give everybody, you know, everything that they need, but if they're not willing to help themselves, you know, there's absolutely no point in stressing yourself out about that. You've done all that you can literally do at that point. So understand that first and foremost. Understand that first and foremost. I would, if I were you, you know, with the things that you've learned here on the channel, maybe you can express some of those things towards him, and maybe he'll catch on to that and help himself, and that'll be great. Or, you know, maybe you try, and he's just not willing to help himself, and sometimes that is the case. But the worst thing that you can do is beat yourself up for that, because you have no control over that. Exactly, Leanne. Anybody who's been through two hurricanes would feel some anxiety. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxiety. We come back to our main point. There's nothing wrong with feeling anxiety, especially over something that's very real. However, it only becomes a problem when you tell yourself negative things about the anxiety itself, right? Hey, you got this, Elliot. One day at a time, one step at a time. Like I said, these new beliefs don't become concrete overnight. Second fear doesn't, you know, the habit of second fear is usually not broken overnight. So one step at a time, one day at a time. One step at a time, one day at a time. Be proud of yourself for how far you've come. You should all be proud of yourselves for how far you've come. Big or small, big or small. Tons of progress or little progress, you should be proud regardless. There is nothing wrong, our main point, there is nothing wrong with feeling anxiety symptoms. There is nothing wrong with feeling anxious. It only becomes a problem when you tell yourself negative things about the way you feel. Then it becomes a problem because you're adding second fear, because you're getting yourself worked up to a point that you don't need to get worked up to, and you're scaring yourself, right? There's nothing wrong with feeling the way you feel. There's nothing wrong with being anxious. There's nothing wrong with experiencing these symptoms. It only becomes a problem when you tell yourself scary or negative things about the way you feel, right? So I think it was Moji who said, which is one of my favorite quotes, there's nothing wrong with feeling the way that you feel. It's the interpretation. That's when it becomes a problem. There's no problem with feeling the way that you feel. The only problem lies in the interpretation. So, because that leads to true fear. That leads to true suffering. If those interpretations are negative. If those interpretations are horror stories, right? Hey, Give Self, I completely believe in you, man. One day at a time. What's up, Sanchez? Good to see you, dude. I'm late, but I'm here. It's good to see you, man. I hope you're having a good day. Hope everybody here is having a good day. And if you're not, if you're not having the best day, then just keep in mind everything that we've said today about perspectives. You can work on it. You can work on it. You absolutely can. I need a potty break, guys, so I will be right back. We had to put a hoodie on, guys. It's getting a little chilly. It's getting a little chilly. Abraham! Abraham, dude. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. $5 donation from Abraham. He says, Wonder Bro equals anxiety's greatest nemesis. I've never heard it put quite like that, but thank you so much, Abraham. Truly appreciate you. Hey, we hit tip goal today. I appreciate it, guys. It's always optional, but thank you so much for that. Truly does help me out a ton, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for the love. Thank you so much for the support. I've said it a million times today, but I'll say it again. I don't know what I would do without you guys, so thank you so much for the support, for the love. Truly does mean a ton to me. Thank you, guys. Can we spam some emojis in chat? Come on, chat. Let's spam some emojis. We hit tip goal today. I appreciate you guys so much. Let's show our donators that we are grateful. Thank you for all that you do. Appreciate you guys. Abraham, Julie Joseph, a name that I do not want to butcher. I apologize. I'm horrible with pronouncing names sometimes, but you know who you are, and I appreciate you so much, and I'm so, so grateful for you. So thank you guys a ton. Thank you guys a ton. Come on, chat. Come on, chat. Show some love to our donators. I didn't really have to fake it, Carlos. Everybody kind of knew that there was something wrong with me, that I was acting a bit different. So it wasn't really about faking it. I just kept quiet about what was actually going on. But that's just me. If you wanna talk to your family about it, that's completely fine. That's up to you. That was just me. I just kept quiet about what was going on. My perspective was, I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want people to get worked up themselves over it. So that was just my perspective. Again, see how everything comes full circle when we talk about perspectives? That was my perspective. That might not be your perspective. I don't know. I let my cigarette go out? I did. I don't know where my lighter is. Oh well. But it's funny you mention that, because it all comes back to perspective. Anxiety symptoms are not suffering. What is suffering is what is going to determine suffering is second fear, is perspective, right? What's up, Wayne? Brother, how you doing, man? It's good to see you, dude. How have you been? I gotta get my lighter, guys. It's getting cold here in Reno. Yeah, man, it's a little chilly. I had to stop the stream for a second to go grab a hoodie. How's the weather over here? Windy and rainy. Windy and rainy. Which I'm not complaining. I love rain. Some of my favorite kind of weather. Where the Wonder Girl? She's at home at the moment. I know you never took benzos, but I'm wondering if the 2 keys would work while going through benzo withdrawal. Seems like a different animal. It can, but you have to ask yourself this question. Okay? So basically you're asking the question of, can I overcome benzo withdrawal with the 2 main keys? Like, can I get better while going through benzo withdrawal? Let me ask you this question. Let's say you're experiencing a different animal, as you put it, quote unquote. What good is second fear going to do you? Right? So let me ask you that question. So your mind's kind of starting to convince you, okay, well maybe, this, that, and the other. I'm dealing with a different animal, so to speak. Well, let me ask you the question. What good is second fear going to do you regardless? Do you want to take the symptoms and what you're already experiencing and add second fear to it? Whether you're dealing with a quote-unquote different animal or not? Do you want to add second fear? Does that sound like a good idea? Right? So that's the question you have to ask yourself. So we see people a lot of the times talk themselves out of using the advice because they feel like they're dealing with what you said, a different animal. But you need to ask your question, what good is second fear going to do for you regardless? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Here's Nova. You can kind of see the top of her head a little bit. Are you on Twitch? I am on Twitch. Wonderbro Gaming. Check it out. I don't think... Do I have a command for that? I don't think so. So in short, Julie, absolutely, because again, it is perspective, whether you're dealing with that or whether you're dealing with this. So at the end of the day, yes, the answer to your question is yes. However, you also need to ask yourself when you talk yourself out of using the advice, what good is second fear going to do for me? Yes, Nisha, because, again, at the end of the day, the question remains, what good will second fear do for me? So regardless of whether you're convinced that you're dealing with a different animal here or not, you still need to ask yourself, what good will second fear do for me? What good will not changing my perspectives do for me? What good will telling myself horror stories and negative and entertaining these negative perspectives do for me? Right? So you can convince yourself of all sorts of horror stories, but that's what we're working on here. That's what we're working on here. Because regardless of what you're experiencing, perspective will always be a factor, a big factor, a very big factor, regardless of what animal you're dealing with. Perspective will always play a huge factor, and that's why Moji says it's not the feeling that's the problem, it is the interpretation, because regardless of what you're dealing with, situational or feelings, whatever, perspective is always going to play a factor, regardless, right? So that's what you have to remind yourself of. What exactly are you? Are you trying to sit on my lap? You're not a lap dog. She thinks she's a lap dog. She'll never be convinced otherwise. Oh, you want to huddle underneath. Okay. Are you cold too? Such a wonderful support group. Hey, I appreciate it. We do our best for each other, right? We're always here for each other. I love this community. I love this family. Glad you asked that question, Julie, because a lot of people have convinced themselves that they can't use the two main keys for this reason or for that reason. So I'm glad I was able to address that. So thank you for that question. When do I stream on Twitch? Honestly, man, I haven't done a stream on Twitch in quite a while. We don't do it that often over there, mostly because my main focus is right here on the YouTube channel. But we do from time to time. I don't have like a set schedule or anything. Your best bet is to toss me a follow over there and just kind of look out for the notifications, right? You guys know me, especially people who's been here for a while. I don't really stick to any sort of schedule. I feel better. That's great, Julie. Again, always ask yourself, what good does second fear do for me? Regardless of what I'm going through, perspective is always a huge factor. Doesn't matter what it is. So if you've convinced yourself or talked yourself out of using the advice here on the channel, ask yourself that question. Exactly. The cause of the anxiety isn't that important. The symptoms are not important. It all comes down to whether or not you want to turn it into suffering through the way that you view it. And again, I've already said it 3 times, but that's why Moji says the feelings aren't the important thing here. It's the interpretation, right? That's what's going to determine suffering. And I love that quote so much because it's so very true. So if you've talked yourself out of using the advice for one reason or another, that's what you need to hold on to, is that little quote right there. It's not the feelings that are important, it's the interpretation, because that's what's going to determine suffering. Moji said it best, Dr. Claire Weeks said it best when she came up with the idea of second fear. You know, any sort of teacher of spirituality or acceptance or healing or personal growth is going to teach you that it all comes down to mindset. It all comes down to what thoughts you're entertaining. It all comes down to your perspectives, right? Regardless of the situation, regardless of the certain symptom, regardless. And that's why we see that as such a common reoccurring theme. That's why that's such a common reoccurring theme, because it is just so very true. Symptoms don't cause suffering, the perspective does, right? So if you have a perspective of second fear, then that's what we need to work on, and you absolutely have every bit of power in you to do that. You absolutely have every bit of power in you to do that. I mean, we can prove that multiple ways. You can take somebody and give them the exact same symptom, and one will view it as excitement and not suffer, and one will view it as something horrible and suffer deeply. That's just one very small example of why perspective is so important and why second fear is so important. That's just one small example of why that is so huge. Hi guys, late again, really bad since last week. Hi, Wonder Bro. Hello, John. Feel free to skip back into the stream if you'd like to pick up the point of today's stream. Good stream. It will be uploaded for anybody who missed it, so don't worry. If you want to catch it later. We do upload 90% of the streams that we do here on the channel, so you can always watch them at any time, or if you miss it, you know, it's always there. The only streams that don't get uploaded are the ones that I don't feel like personally are going to benefit the channel, you know, that aren't really worth rewatching. But 90% of the time they get uploaded. It can be difficult, Kappa, because all a perspective is a belief. So we never ever said, and you'll never ever hear me say, that changing a perspective is an easy thing to do. Because it's not necessarily an easy thing to do, it's just a very possible thing to do. And it's what needs to be done, right? And that's why I say it's a personal endeavor. You really got to dig deep and try to view your symptoms in a more logical, rational way that suits you. And that's why I always say it's a very personal endeavor. But you'll never hear me say it's easy, but you will hear me say that it can be done, and it can be done by every single one of you, absolutely 110%. You just got to want it, and you got to work towards it. Never said it was easy, but I will always say that it is 110% possible for anyone who wants it. It is 110% possible for anybody who wants it, and you can absolutely make that change. You can absolutely make that change, and you can start right now. That's the beauty of it. You can start right now, and doesn't matter how low down you feel, doesn't matter how long you've been dealing with this thing, you absolutely 110% can make those changes. You absolutely 110% can be more aware of your perspectives and whether or not they're adding second fear, and if they are, you absolutely 110% can change those perspectives. You can, through acceptance and through being just more aware of whether or not you have second fear perspectives. So maybe at the end of the day it's not necessarily easy. I know it's not. I've been there, done that. But is it possible? 110%, and anybody can do it. Absolutely anybody can do it. You just have to want it, and you have to get started, and you can make it happen. You can slowly break down old, negative, fearful second fear beliefs and replace them with new, rational, logical ones. You can absolutely do that. every single one of you. There's nothing special about me that says I can do it and you can't. If you're here right now, if you're watching this video in the future, whatever, you absolutely 110% can heal. You can. You can. There's nothing stopping you but you. You just got to get going, right? You just got to get going and start working on it. But you can heal. Yeah, exactly. Give self. Hey, I appreciate all you guys. I truly do. Appreciate all the love that you show to one another. Appreciate all the positivity. I love that you guys help each other out and you give each other pats on the back. It's awesome to have a community behind you when you take on this huge change in your life. It's nice to have a group of people behind you. It's very comforting, and I love it. I'm glad you guys do that for each other. Makes me very happy. All right, you guys, we are approaching the 1.5 hour mark, so I'm probably going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you guys so much, again, for all that you do. We are so close to 9K subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for your love, for your support. Thank you for showing each other love and support. Give yourselves a pat on the back. The stream will be uploaded if you missed it or if you just want to watch it again. Like the stream if you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys in the next stream and or video. Again, thank you so much for all that you do, truly from the bottom of my heart. And I will see you soon. Right there. That was a good one. Right there. Stay awesome.